Hi everyone, so today's video is something a little bit different. It's more of a chatty video, which I don't do that often. I tend to do kind of tag videos and stuff like that, but I never have a chatty video about a random topic or a question, or I never have like story time or anything like that. And it's something I do want to get more into. I want to put more of a variation of videos on my channel in the future. It's something I'm going to really try and work on. I'm going to try and do more wide variety of videos, more so than just beauty. I'm obviously going to still do that, but I do want to kind of personalize my channel a little bit. I don't want it to get boring for you guys. I mean, maybe you're sick of seeing tutorials, maybe not, I don't really know. Hopefully you're not, because I will continue to do them, but I do want to do the odd extra random video. So hopefully you enjoy this. This one is random. Basically, I ran a giveaway on my Snapchat a couple of weeks ago, and to enter I just asked people to send me on some video requests just so that the entries weren't pointless and they were just sort of useful, and I got ideas from people of what you'd like to see and stuff like that. So I got loads of great ideas, took them all down obviously because I always try and fulfill your video requests whenever I can, whenever I get the time. So one of the entries, or one of the video requests, was my life story, or how I got into makeup and nails and YouTube. So I thought this was actually kind of an interesting one because it's not your typical, you know, I watched my mum growing up doing her makeup and I kind of followed her footsteps. It was quite the opposite. My mum doesn't actually really wear any makeup, only unless I put it on her myself. So it wasn't like that. And I personally kind of think that my story towards makeup is interesting. It mightn't be to you guys, but I think because it means so much to me that maybe I do care about it a lot, and I do kind of think that the story is interesting. But hopefully you think it's interesting too. So you're going to have to bear with me for this story because I feel like you might think a lot of times, where the heck is this going? But I promise you that it does have a meaning to it, and I think it's slightly inspirational. Well, hopefully anyways. So I am a huge believer of the saying, everything happens for a reason. It's one of those ones I sort of live by, and if I'm going through tough times, I would kind of say to myself, you know, everything does happen for a reason, and I mightn't realise it now, but I might realise it in the future. So that is part of my story, or like a kind of significant point. So hopefully that ties in during the video. So basically during secondary school I did TY, or transition year. If you're not from Ireland, transition year is a year between 3rd and 5th year where you basically have no exams and you take the year kind of out to maybe improve in some subjects, have some extra experiences, go on trips and stuff like that. So it's sort of a DOS year is what we call it in Ireland, because you don't get much homework, you do mostly projects, group projects and stuff like that. So yeah, so I did transition year and I did the whole year, and it was grand, like as good as transition year is going to be. I had some great experiences, and at the end of the year we got to go on an outdoor pursuits trip for 2 days. I can't remember where it was, I know the name but I'm not going to mention it just in case, but we basically went for 2 days to kind of finish off our transition year experience. So normally I don't go to these sort of things because I'm not sporty, I'm not fit, I've never been good at sports, and I get kind of anxious at these sort of things because I'm very conscious that I'm just going to embarrass myself. So because it was the end of the year, I said that I was going to go and experience it, and you know, like you only live once, it was my only chance to kind of go with those certain people, so I said I'd go. So I went and I had a great time, ended up enjoying everything. I did like all the optional stuff, we did different stuff like kayaking, rock climbing, river walking, orienteering, all this sort of jazz, the usual outdoor pursuits kind of things, and I had a great time when we came home. So naturally everyone was all aches and pains because we had been using muscles for 2 days straight that we had probably hadn't used in months, because we were in TY and we weren't doing much. So everyone was aches and pains, and that was all grand. We were all a little bit sore. So then about a week passed and I was getting much worse, and I was in a lot more pain than everyone else, and I just figured that I'd pulled a muscle. So I basically went to the doctors and she gave me anti-inflammatories and painkillers, and I took them for maybe like a week and a half and I wasn't getting any relief. So I went back, got more painkillers, more anti-inflammatories. This was a different doctor this time. So he gave me different ones and different painkillers and took them for about another week and a half to 2 weeks. Still wasn't any better. I was basically getting pain from my lower back down to my foot on the left side of my body. So anyway, I took them, they weren't working, so I decided to go to a local physiotherapist and she did physiotherapy on me. So I did exercises and she also did like massages on me to work out the muscles because they're really, really tight and they needed to be loosened. So they weren't enjoyable. Very, very painful. I remember going in crying to sessions because I knew what I was going to go through because they were very, very painful. You had to like, well, I had to hold my breath to stop myself from screaming or yelling because it was quite painful, but it was slowly improving my muscles and the pain. So I went to her about 6 or 7 times. I think some weeks I went twice a week. I think some weeks I went once a week. But I had hurt my back at the end of May and this was pretty much the end of June, start of July when I'd finished going to the physiotherapist, and she told me to get an x-ray because it clearly wasn't getting, it was improving, but there was still something there that was causing me pain, and she said that it wasn't down to muscles and to get an x-ray to find out what was going on. So I got an x-ray. Obviously that took a few weeks to book, a few weeks to get the results, and there was nothing on the x-ray, so we were kind of back to square one. So I went to another doctor this time and he told me that it was my core muscles and my posture and that I needed to go see another physiotherapist. So he referred me to a physiotherapist in, it was the far side of Moneygall, and I went to them for a few weeks and they basically did more exercises, more massages, and I had to get brand new orthotics because I have fallen arches. I'm not really sure if any of you guys have them or know what they are, but they kind of affect your muscles and posture and stuff like that because your feet are flat, so it's put more strain on your muscles. So I've had them my entire life. Like I got them sorted out years ago, but they said that I needed new insoles to go into my shoes to give me more of an arch. So I got them. They were like €300, which is fab, and physio wasn't cheap either, but I was going to them for about, I think I went to them for about 2 months. I went once a week for about 2 months, and again, I think at this point I wasn't really getting any better. I was definitely getting worse. I think all the muscles that could have been loosened were definitely loose at this point, and there was still something causing me a lot of pain. And at this point I couldn't really sit down without being in pain. I couldn't walk for any distance. I couldn't lie. I wasn't sleeping because I was in pain when I was lying down, and then when I did fall asleep I'd twist or turn and I would wake myself up with pain. So obviously that wasn't good, and I was kind of going to those physios anyway, and I said to them, will I get an MRI because just to make sure? And they were like, no, it's definitely your posture, definitely your core muscles, and it'll work, it just takes time. So I was like, fair enough. So I went to them for a few months, and it was pretty much September at this point and I wasn't any better. I was going back to school, I was going into 5th year, and I was sick like a lot. I was out sick like at least once, if not twice, maybe 3 times a week. Some days I couldn't physically get out of bed, so I couldn't go into school, and obviously I'd have to be carrying my bag and my books and all that sort of stuff. So it was hard, obviously, and walking distance was painful for me, any walking distance. Then I finished my sessions with the physiotherapist, and I just said to my mum, I was like, look, can I just get an MRI? They basically told me to come back if it wasn't any better. I wasn't, but I was after doing about 2 months with them, spending my money, and I wasn't after improving at all. So I obviously didn't go back to them because what they were doing wasn't working. So I just said to mum, can I get an MRI just in case? So we booked the MRI, we got the MRI. By the time all this was kind of sorted, I think it was December, by the time I got my MRI and got my results back, and turned out that I had a disc in my spine, which had popped out on the left side of my body and was pressing against a nerve, which was obviously sending pain down my body. So at this point I was sort of relieved. I mean, obviously, like, I was like, oh my god, how did I do that? But at the same time I was like, thank god something showed up, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I think my parents kind of got to the point where they weren't really believing me, because the physiotherapists were telling me otherwise and the doctors, and I knew that there was something else wrong, but like I couldn't prove it. And when professionals are telling you opposite, then you know, you don't really know what to do. So like I said, this was sort of December, and my doctor referred me to a surgeon in Dublin, and that was grand anyways. And this is a little side story to the story, which makes sense. But we got a new couch, and our couch wouldn't fit into our front door because we have a porch. It would fit in the front door but not the door outside, which was the glass porch. So my dad basically had to ring the guy who put up the porch to take it down to get the couch in, which was hassle, and he was annoyed about it at the time. So the guy arrived and he took down the porch and he was helping my dad lift the couch into the house. And my dad actually just said in passing, he was like, oh, be careful of your back, don't hurt yourself, I actually have a daughter right now that's sick with her back. And the guy who was lifting in the couch actually said, oh, believe it or not, I had surgery on my back years ago from this amazing surgeon, and he said his name. My dad was like, no way, can I actually get the number off you if you have it? And he did. So my mum rang that surgeon the next day and they booked me in for the following day, and I went over to see him. And when you have an injury like that, you basically have to go through a process of medication, physiotherapy, and then an epidural injection. And I had already gone through obviously the medication physiotherapy stage, because about I suppose 6 months had passed at this point. So I had already gone through kind of all of that stage. So he said the next step is injections. So I was like, okay, grand, like I'll have to get it done, because obviously I was in pain. So he booked me in for that anyways, and obviously it took a couple of weeks, and I went down and I got my injection. An epidural injection is basically where they inject your spine. Well, they actually inject the disc in your spine with a liquid that supposedly makes it shrink, and therefore it won't be pressing against the nerve, because obviously it's smaller. So I got one of them anyways, and it takes like a few weeks to see if it actually has worked. And my first one didn't, so I went back to him again and he suggested a second one. You can only get 3 in the space of a year for safety reasons with your spine and stuff, so he suggested a second one. So a few weeks later I went back and got a second one. So the weeks were obviously passing. I was still in pain, and it got to the point where I couldn't get out of bed like most days. I could, like, it was very painful, and it took me, when I woke up, it took me about maybe an hour or 2 to actually manage to get out of bed. And then some days I would have to make it from my room to my parents' room and lie down for 15 minutes, make it from my parents' room to my sister's room, lie down for 15 minutes, and eventually get to the kitchen or the bathroom or wherever I was going. So I wasn't enjoying life, obviously, and I wasn't in school much, pretty much. I stopped going to school end of February, start of March, because I can still remember the day I went into school and we were in a workshop kind of room, and I was sitting there on like a stool and I was like fidgeting for the full class because I was in so much pain and I couldn't get comfortable. And I remember just saying to my best friend, I'm not going to make it to break. I have to go home, like I have to get home. I'm not okay and I can't do this anymore. So I pretty much decided that day that I won't be going to school anymore until it was sorted. So that was kind of decided, and I was missing a lot, but there was nothing I could really do. I just tried to work from home as best I could, but then obviously I was in pain a lot and I wasn't comfortable in any way I was positioned, so it wasn't nice. But anyway, I went back, got my second injection, waited a few weeks again to see if it works. You wait roughly a month, and it still hadn't worked. So I went back one final time and he said he wasn't going to do the injection, that this time he was going to do an operation. So scary obviously, but I didn't really care because I was so sick of life at this point. Like, I was in pain all the time. I was very cranky with my family because I was in pain. So we decided the operation, which I was sort of fine with because I did just want to get this sorted. It was taking over my life. It was taking up time. Like, almost a year had passed at this point. This was April. So he booked me in for the operation. The date was the 13th of June. It was Friday the 13th because I remember getting slagged over it. And people are saying, you mad joke going in for an operation on Friday the 13th. But it was the date I was given and I wasn't not taking it. So anyways, I went in for my operation and they basically had to remove part of my disc so that it wasn't pressing against the nerve. And everything went brilliantly, everything went smoothly. Like, the operation went really well and the pain was almost gone immediately. I only had a bit of kind of operation pain, like just obviously my wound and all that, but the pain on the left side of my body was gone. So I was like delighted. And everything went smoothly. I had like a little fainting accident when I woke up first. I fainted because I presume of the ordeal, I don't know, I just fainted. But I basically then couldn't sit down for 3 weeks because obviously if I was sitting down I was putting pressure on my spine and it might have popped out the disc again. So they didn't want to take that chance. So I was wearing like a sort of core support. I still have it up in my wardrobe. It's sort of like a corset, but obviously like a physiotherapy kind of corset. And yeah, I wasn't allowed to sit down for 3 weeks. I could lie and stand and I could sit for the bathroom and that was it. So yeah. But so that was I was kind of sorted by the end of June, start of July. Like I said, everything was successful, but I was sick for a year solid. I was pretty much at home by myself, unable to do anything, unable to go anywhere because obviously I couldn't walk. And the whole time I was at home, I basically painted my nails, I did my makeup, and I watched YouTube videos because that was literally all I could do. I couldn't go anywhere, so obviously I was pretty much housebound for months, and like makeup and nails was my outlet and it was what kind of kept me sane, made me happy. And then I obviously began watching YouTubers because I was at home a lot, and that's when I discovered loads of Irish YouTubers like Grace and Melanie, Holly, Laura, and I remember thinking like, that's what I want to do. I want to do YouTube and I want to do this as soon as possible. So I actually started my channel I think it was the start of July, the middle of July. It was after I was finished with my operation and I was better, and I just said, this is what I want to do. So I started my channel and I said, like, you can do this now. You can actually, I wanted to start it beforehand, but I obviously couldn't sit down for a few hours and film, so it wasn't possible. But I said, if this operation goes well and if you get better, that's what you're going to do. That's the first thing you're going to do. So I did, and that's why I'm here. And I know that that story seems like sort of pointless, but it means a lot to me because I'm not going to lie, clearly it's not a nice subject for me to kind of still talk about. Basically, I wanted to tell this story because I had a very miserable year that year. It was horrible. I guess it sort of gives you an idea of how horrible and unhappy I was during that time if I get upset talking about it. So it was horrible, and the reason I wanted to tell the story is because I really thought it wasn't going to get better, and I didn't know or understand why this was happening to me. I was only 16, 17, I was 17 years old and I had this back injury, and all I was getting from doctors and nurses was like, why did this happen to you when you're so young? Obviously I was thinking the same thing. I just sort of wanted to be a normal 17-year-old. I wanted to be able to go to school, and you know, obviously I was getting more stressed because I knew how much work I was missing. I knew I was missing out on events and stuff going on that I should have been at that I couldn't go to because I was sick. Okay, I keep losing my train of thought, but the reason I wanted to tell this side of the story of how I got into makeup and nails and YouTube is because although that was the most horrible time of my entire life, and I may have cried myself to sleep maybe 3 weeks in a row or more, and I didn't think it was going to get any better. It did, and not only did it get better, it led me to something amazing, something that I do now for a living, something that is my passion, that I never shut up talking about. And like before this had happened, I would have had never thought of starting a YouTube channel. I would have never thought of makeup as a career. I did makeup, I did my own makeup back then, but I did it badly, trust me. And I would have never thought of nails or makeup as a career, and now it is my career, and I'm on YouTube like over nearly 2 years. I've met so many amazing people, and it's all because of that. I think that's why I think everything happens for a reason. If I hadn't been at home all those hours, maybe I wouldn't have learned how to blend my eyeshadow properly, or you know, maybe I just wouldn't have had the same life I have now. And I think it really did kind of build me as a person, because I feel like if I could get through that year, I can kind of get through anything. And I know like it doesn't seem like I could have been so much more worse off, don't get me wrong, I completely understand that I could have had it a lot worse than I did, but at the time, the emotions I was feeling, the way I felt, the pain I was in, it was the worst I thought I could have been. And you know, to be like, it's 2 years nearly on now, 3 days it's gonna be 2 years since I had my operation, and I've had the most amazing 2 years. I managed to get through 6th year and pass my Leaving Cert and do well against, I'd say, everyone's thoughts and opinions. I'd say no one thought I could do it, because I had missed so much. And then in 6th year when I went back, I was just overwhelmed with how much I'd missed that I just didn't go to school. So I don't think anyone thought I'd pass my Leaving Cert, but I did. I managed to do my makeup artistry course and pass that, and I'm now doing freelance makeup artistry, and I'm going to college this year hopefully, and I'm on YouTube nearly 2 years, and I've over 900 subscribers, and my life is amazing. So I truly do believe that everything happens for a reason, and when someone suggested this video, I thought that it would be a sort of nice one to see or to watch or to hear about, because I was miserable. I really didn't think that my life was going to improve. I thought that I would be stuck the way I was, and that I wouldn't be able to do anything I wanted to do, and that I'd be in pain for some time. And you know, I did get better, and I've done lots of things that I wanted to do, and it's kind of made me a better person and kind of obviously led me on to great things, and that's why I just thought that it would be an interesting story to hear about. Hopefully it was. I'm sorry for getting emotional. It's still a touchy subject for me. I get upset anytime I think about it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please give it a thumbs up if you did, because I can do more kind of chatty videos. Hopefully it's a little bit inspiring. If you're having a tough time right now, or a family member or friend is, just let them know that it's gonna get better. It will always get better. And yeah, I guess that's kind of it. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm so sorry for all the soppiness and stuff, but hopefully, like I said, it was an inspiring story, and if you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of my channel's videos. I feel like I'm getting a little bit jumbled now after all my talking, But yeah, thank you so much if you stayed to the end, and I'll see you in my next video, guys. Bye.